Okay, so welcome to this video. So based on the timetable, we are going to do C++, then the introduction, so writing a program and then understanding the basics. Okay, so in this video we are going to discuss the introduction to C++ programming and also look at its overview. So this handout or documentation will be made available to those students who have access to the KMU CYS Tutorials online class for 2024-2025. Okay. So the first thing we are going to focus on in this slide is to follow these simple instructions which we are given. So the first thing we are starting with is creating a simple C++ program. So in this first method, you're using Microsoft Visual Studio Code. So number one, they are saying create a folder. So I'll demonstrate this on my desktop. So just right click, then you go new, then folder. So this folder, you can name it anything. For example, C++ programming. You can name it anything you want. So that's the name for the folder, C++ programming. Now they're saying create a text file inside the folder you've created. So what you need to do is double click on this folder, then inside this folder you create a text file. So you right click, then you go on new, then you select a text document. So this text document now, you name it anything you want. For example, we'll say code. We can name it as code. So you enter or you save that like that. So they're saying click on view Windows tab and make sure the file name extension is checked. So what they mean by this is that you see this view option, you click on this, then you go on show, then on this show make sure that file extension is checked. If this option is not checked, meaning you will be seeing your text file without the extension, which was .txt. So the instructions were view, then you make sure on show the file extension is checked so that you can see this code.txt, which is the extension. So following that, now we say rename the file extension from txt to cpp. So txt was text file, then cpp is C++ file. So you just right click, then rename. So now you put you concentrate on txt, then you change it to cpp. Yeah, and then you say yes. Okay. So as you can see, the text file was changed to a cpp, which is a C++ file, and the format has changed based on the extension you have given it. Now they're saying double click on the file and write your first C++ code. So once you double click this, it will open up this Microsoft Visual Studio, prompting you to start writing your code like that. So these are the simple first steps you can use in Microsoft Visual Studio Code to start writing your program. So this is the first step to follow. Now let's go to the second method. Okay, now using the second method, now we create a simple C++ program. Again, we need to create a folder. So for this, we've already created our folder, so no need to create again. If you want, you can create a new folder. Then open Microsoft Visual Studio Code. So let me just close it so that I follow the instruction. Now they're saying open Microsoft Visual Studio Code. So I'm opening Microsoft Visual Code. So it's done. So I've opened it like that. It's saying welcome whatsoever. Yeah. So the second thing they're saying, click on file, then select open folder. So for this one, I don't need this. Let me just make sure that the folder is empty. I've deleted that. So they're saying click on file, then select folder. So if you are in Microsoft Visual Studio Code, just click on file, then you say open folder. Then after you open the folder, you select the folder you want, which is on the desktop based on the folder you're using. So once you select the folder, you follow up with the instructions which are coming up next in our case. So for this one, just say yes whatsoever. Yeah. So now the instructions are saying, let me just do this. I'll make sure everything is neat. Okay. So the instructions are saying, this is distracting. Okay. So the instructions are saying, create a new file inside the selected folder through Microsoft Visual Studio Code. So we are inside Microsoft Visual Studio Code. So we use this symbol to create a new file. So inside this same folder, which is for C++ programming, which you have opened, we need to create a new file. So that's the option to create a new file like that. So they're saying name the file name anything with .cpp. The extension must be .cpp. So here we'll say I'll name it code.cpp, and you can see the extension has changed to C++. So if it has this, it's not available, but you said .cpp, everything is neat. So we've created our CPP file and we are ready to start programming. So these are the two methods you can use to create a C++ file for you to start programming. Using the first method, we did everything inside the folder we've created, but this time around we used Microsoft Visual Studio Code to create this .cpp file for us to program. So those are the two methods we can use to create this file in Microsoft Visual Studio Code. Now, going to the fourth slide, here we are going to demonstrate to now we can do these things using code blocks. So creating a simple C++ program using code blocks. So open code blocks. So I'm going to minimize this. Then I'm just going to make sure I've opened code blocks. So this is code blocks. Make sure you open it like that. Okay, so click on create new project. So we need to click on this button, which is create new project, which is done. Let me put this here. So they're saying select console application, then click on go. So this is console application, then we say go. Let me drag this. So they're saying click on next. So this is next. Click C++ and click on next. So this is C++, then next. Then enter project title and select the folder to create a project in, then click next. So title can be anything. For example, it can be codes. So you can just say codes, or you can say C++ codes, anything. Then here you select a folder which you want to put your files. So if I want, I can go with this folder on the desktop which I've created. Then I'll use this folder and say select folder. So as you can see, everything I'm doing will be saved under this folder. Then we say next. Then they're saying click on finish. So finish. The next thing they're saying, double click on the sources under management project. So this is management project, then we have sources. So we double click on that. Double click on main.cpp. So this is the main C++ file which will allow us to do our programming, and everything is all set. So the difference between writing a C++ program using Microsoft Visual Studio is that you will start just a blank project using Microsoft Visual Studio Code, but with code blocks, your program will look like this. Then you just need to modify some new stuffs and continue, or you can erase everything then start. So this is one way on how we can start writing a C++ program using these two different compilers and source codes. Okay, so slide 5. So here we are going to discuss about the input, output, then specifically IOStream library. So let me just use Microsoft Visual Studio Code for this, then explain some few basics. Okay, so input, by the name itself, it allows us to accept some input to our program. Then output, it displays what's expected to the user or what you want to see. So we call them IO, which is input output. So IO stands for input output stream. So iOS stream library is made up of these four components, which is the console output, which is referred to as the cin. So cin allows you to accept input which is being entered by the user or anyone using the program. Then console output, which is cout, allows you to display or to print the expected output. So we are going to concentrate on cin and cout during our online classes. But for console error, which deals with the errors, we are not going to discuss about that, including the console log, which is also called the clog or clog, if you may like. So we are going to concentrate on cin and cout. So they're saying note, these are all standards, which is std, hence each and every input must start with hashtag include iostream. So this is a comment which says to accept both input and output. Then using namespace std to allow the use of standards such as cin and cout. So let's understand what they mean. So they're saying a program should start with hashtag include io stream. So what does this mean? So hashtag include iostream, it means we are putting a library, or we are including a library which can accept both input and output. Okay, so that input and output is the cin and the cout. Cin is the input, cout is the output, but we need to include them to the standards, which is called the std, for them to perform their operations. No wonder they're saying we also need to use standards using this namespace std. So it will make sense once I demonstrate something. So we'll say using name space std for standard, like that. So each and every function, each and every program should have a main function. So a function starts with the type. So in this case, the main function is an integer. So we'll say int. Then with each and every function should have a name, but this is the main function, so we'll call it main. Okay. So after that, these are the symbols we use for the function. Then we put whatever conditions we want in here. Then later on we use these curly braces. So when you are using a function, always remember that you need to return something. In this case, we'll just return a 0 because we are saying this main function is an integer and the 0 is also an integer. So I want to explain something about IO streams and namespaces. So in this case, I want you to understand the use of standards first. So IO stream, will be used to accept input and output. So imagine you want to display something to the user. Let me just zoom in. You want to display something to the user using this program. So say cout. Okay, so cout will display something to the user. So these are the symbols which follow, then you do like that. So you need to give a certain comment to what the user is supposed to see. For example, I'll just say um, we are printing this. Okay, I'm saying we are printing this. Then again, we follow up with those symbols. Then we end the line by saying endl, which is end line. So cout is part of the o stream, which is output stream. Then end line is part of these standards. Okay, again cout is part of these standards. So you won't understand this until I demonstrate. First, cout is used to print out something based on the output stream. So let's see that. So for us to see what we are printing, we need to learn this program. Okay, so since we need to learn this program, we are going to go on terminal, then we say new terminal. Then we need to make sure that um, we are at the same directory which is containing our file. In this case, we created that file on the desktop, and the file folder file name is C++ programming, which is the right destination. So for you to learn a program using Microsoft Visual Studio Code, you say G++, then name of your file. So in this case, our file is named code. So you say code, then tab. So as you can see, it's code.cpp. Okay, then you simply leave a space. So if you want to give it a name, you can simply say -o. Okay, for now let's just use this simple one. So you click enter. So G++, then the name of that particular file. Oh, let me see, let me clear the screen. I'm sure there's another file named like that. So code.cpp. Okay, let me just make sure that this folder, oh, so inside the folder we have another folder again, which is blown. Okay, I see. So this is not supposed to be a folder. So we are going to say code.cpp. Let me just get rid of that folder. It's disturbing our operation. So let me just close code blocks for a moment, and then everything should be fine. Okay, so let's try again. Say code. Okay, so let me go back to C++ programming. Okay, so I'll say G++, and then this code.cpp we want to execute. Just a minute. All right, I understand we haven't saved this project, so just say Ctrl+S to save the project. So Ctrl+S, so the project has been saved. Now we can run that command, which is G++, then code.cpp. So as you can see, another file has been created, which is a.exe. So once we learn that a.exe, our program will execute saying we are printing this. So it means this is the output which a user is able to see. in this particular case, it's because of the O stream, which is the output stream, which is allowing this console out to print out this statement, which is we are printing this. Okay, so that's the meaning. So I'm sure you understand the use of the O stream. I'm not talking about the IO stream, but just O stream, because they're talking about output stream, not including the input for now. Okay, so now want to understand what's this standard. So this using namespace standard, it's important because without this we cannot call out cout like this, or end line, or cin. Okay, so I'll give an example whereby we get rid of this statement like that. Then we try to see, we see some errors, two errors. We can see there are problems. So they're saying we have a problem on line 5, again line 5. So this is line 5. We have a problem with cout and cout. Why? Oh, and end line. It's because we haven't specified the standard of this, which was that using namespace std. So for us to clear out these errors, we need to say std, then these two symbols. Again we say std, those two symbols will follow up. So you can see the errors have gone. Going back to our terminal, if I say Ctrl+S, then again I say G++ and that file, you can see if I try to run this file, the output again will be we are printing this. So this std stands for standard. So as you can see, it's the namespace standard. No wonder at the beginning we were saying using namespace std, because we don't want to always write std whenever we see cout, cin, and endline. Hope you get my concept. So that's the meaning of that part. Okay, so this was the meaning here. So now that we understand, we can continue with the slide. We got slide number 6. So here we'll be talking about comments. Okay, so there are two types of comments. There's a single line comment, and we have paired comments. So comments are ignored by the compiler. So let's understand this using our program. Okay, so imagine we wanted to make a comment so as a user to understand what's happening. So I'll just give a simple scenario. Imagine you want to give a comment using single line comment on this statement which says we are printing this. So comments are used for your fellow programmers to understand what you are truly doing or talking about. So we'll use this double slash to make a single line comment. So we want to understand what's truly happening with this code, telling our fellow programmers. So you can give a comment like this will print out the statement below. So we can say this will print out the statement below. So this comment is showing our fellow programmers that this code below will be used to print out that particular statement. So we saw that comments are ignored by the compiler. So comments won't affect our code. So to prove this, we can say Ctrl+S to save our file. Then let's clear the screen. Then again, we try to run this file, which is code whatsoever. So once that file is created to execute, it will say we are printing this. So the program has ignored this line, which was a comment, so it has been ignored. So it means comment only give us more insight on the code, but does not affect the code. So that's the meaning. So this is how we can go about a single line comment. Then we have a paired comments, whereby we don't use that double slashes. So for a paired comment, they start with a slash, then a star. So again, they end with a star and with a slash. So you can give out a comment. I would suggest you are using this paired comment if maybe you are explaining a certain operation or formula to fellow programmers. Let me say how we calculate D when we are dealing with RSA. So we can see that D is ED minus 1 minus 1, then divide by M. Then you can simply say this will help us find D. So as you can see, this comment can move from whatever line to another line. So whenever you start it with this slash and the star, you need to end it with a star and slash. Without that, it means this second line will be affecting all this entire operation until you end it with a star and a slash, like that. So that's the meaning for these two comments. So you can make a comment. If again you say Ctrl+S, you save the file. Let's clear the screen once more. You say G++, then the name of the file, which is code.cpp, then our extension which has been created to execute. It says we are printing this. So it simply means this statement which is being printed out is not affected by this single line comment and the paired comments. No wonder it was saying it does not affect our codes of our program. So that was the meaning. Okay, so I want to explain these examples because we have used our own scenarios. So we got slide number 7. So under slide number 7, we are trying to explain the main function, which I did, like I gave some little explanation on it. So let's see what's all about this function. So a function should have a type. So in this case, a type is the integer, which is int. Then you give it a name, function name. So this is the main function under it's called main. Then there are these brackets, open and close. Then you put these curly brackets, open and close. Then in between you need to return something. So based on the type is what you return. So for this is saying return 0 because 0 is also an integer. So if the type wasn't an integer, you need to return that particular type, then you end it like this. So this is how we write a function. Okay, so a function inside these brackets, it will have some variables which needs to be called out based on the type, and again in between before return 0 we have more like formulas which will conduct a certain operation for something to be returned. No wonder it's saying a function. So that's the meaning. Now note, int is a type of data. In this case, integers, I've explained. Main is the function name, I've explained. Return returns something based on the data type. So return 0 because 0 is an integer. In this case, 0 is an integer. So we go to slide number 8. So I was just explaining on this main function. We proceed, we go to the data types. So here we concentrate on two types of data, which is variables, then characters. Okay, so we start with variables. So a variable is just something which can store another thing inside it. So for us to explain further, we can just get rid of this, then we give an example of an integer. So, oh, we are talking about variables, right? Okay, so we are saying variables store a value of something. So for example, a variable can be a name. Let me say we want to create a program which is capturing numbers. So since numbers are integers, the type, so let me just give a comment. Since we have learned about comments, we say variables capturing numbers, okay, such as 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. So because numbers are integers, it means the data type should be an integer. We say int for integers. Then a variable stores something, but you just need to give it a name after you have specified the type, such as integer. In this case, we can just give it a name as numbers, because we are saying variable capturing numbers. So this integer will be used to capture the numbers which are being entered by user. So just like a simple program. So remember, we've talked about cout, which is part of the O stream, output stream, and namespace standards. We have already talked about that. So just say cout, because we want to tell user to enter specific numbers. So in this case, we'll tell the user to enter um, enter a number. So say enter a number. So we tell user to enter a number. Then remember, we need to end the line. Once we are done by saying end line, then enter. Now here we'll discuss about cin, which is console input. So now cin is part of the I stream, which is input stream. So we'll say cin, then the symbols for cin is like that. So remember, we talked about cout is used to print out something on the screen. So a user on the screen will see enter a number, but cin will accept the input into something which is being entered by the user. In this case, the user is supposed to enter the numbers. So we are going to link that numbers to this cin. What this statement means is that once a user enters a number, that number will be stored into this variable, which is a number, because of the cin, which will be used to accept that particular input which was being entered by the user. Hope you understand. So now, once that number has been entered, maybe we want to do a certain operation. Okay, let me just do like a simple addition. So let's call our first input variable, the integer is number 1. Then we have another variable which is number 2. So this comma will be used to separate these two variables. So we have two variables. So number 1 will store the first number, number 2 will store the second number. So in this case, we are telling a user to enter the, so here we are going to say enter the first number. So remember, first number is number 1. Then we are going to copy this again. Then we are going to tell the user to enter the second number. Then we need to store it in number 2. So variables will be used to store these numbers which are being inserted by the user. Then this particular cin or console in will be used to accept the input. Okay. So now let's say we are trying to operate an addition. for the first number and the second number. So since when we multiply, we add two numbers such as 1 plus 1, and the answer is 2, and that particular answer is also an integer, so we can say int, because the answer is an integer, int sum for addition is equal to, so whenever you're adding something, we say 1 plus 1. So in this case, 1 was number 1, because number 1 was storing the first number such as 1. Then we say plus number 2. Why? Because if sum is equals to 1 plus 2, it means number 1 plus number 2 will give us the sum or the answer. So since this is only capturing, so we need to display it to the user for them to see the answer of the sum. In this case, we are going to see out, because we want to display the answer, then we give a comment. So the comment can be saying sum of the two numbers is, so sum of the two numbers is, so remember, for us to know the answer of these two numbers, we need to know the value of the sum, because 1 plus 1 is equals to 2, which is the sum. So here we need to link the sum. We need to link the sum. So we say sum, okay. Then remember, once we are done, we end the line like that. Okay, so this simple program will be used to accept two numbers and display its addition or sum. So Ctrl+S to save the program. Then again you come to your terminal, you say G++. Then after that, G++, you now put the name of your file. For us is code. So you say code, then tab, it will say .cpp, enter. Then once that is done, a file has been created which is a.exe executable. So you say a and tab, so it will say ./a.exe, then you enter. It's saying enter the first number. In this case, I'll enter 1, enter the second number. In this case, we'll say 2. By the way, this is not the spelling for number. Anyway, it's okay. Then enter. So it to say the sum of the two numbers is 3. Hope I was saying 1 plus 1 is 2, not 1 plus 2 is 3. Okay, so that's the meaning. So I'm sure you've understood what I was trying to demonstrate. Okay, so that was all about the data types such as integers. Now let's take an example of characters. So character is another type of data. So in this case, I'll get rid of this code up to return 0, like that. Okay, then let's clear the screen. We say clear. Okay, then let's give a comment. Here we are talking about characters, so just say characters. So we are making use of everything we learn. So say characters. Now short for character is CHAR, so that means for character. So imagine we want to create a program which will display our names in reverse, such as my name is James Soko, we'll say Soko James. So in this case, let's give a comment which saying write a C++ program that will display names in reverse, like that. Okay, so car is short for character. So since for example, my name James Soko, James is the first name, we are going to say car first name. So it means this data type is a character, and that value or something which will be entered by user will be stored into the first name. For example, if the program asks me to enter my first name, which is James, that first name will be stored in this variable which is called first name. So remember, characters should have a fixed length or a certain number of characters inside. Rwanda is called the character. For example, James has 5 letters, if I'm not mistaken. So you need to specify the length of characters by using these square brackets. Then you put the number you want for your length. In this case, let me just use 15. So I'm saying I want to limit this input which will be entered by the user for the first name to 15 characters. Then we need to have another character for the last name, because we need to have the first name and last name. Then again we limit its characters, maybe let me say to 15 again. So it means the maximum full name can go up to 30 characters. Now remember, we have the first name and the last name. We just need to display it in reverse. So we use cout to display. By now we know. Followed by these two symbols, we give a comment. So we say full name, because once we combine the first name and the last name, we come up with the full name. So we say full name. Now, since we want to display it in reverse, we need to link the last name first and the first name last, more like the opposite, so that it can display in reverse. Instead of starting with the first letter, the first name, we start with the last name. So I'll say last name. Okay. Then I'll need to follow up with the first name. So for this one, I will write it like this, then explain later why I need to do what's supposed to be done. I'll say first name. Then remember, once we are done, we end the line. Okay. So if you write your program like this without a space, you bring some issues reading your output. So let me just save this and demonstrate what I mean. So Ctrl+S to save that, then G++, name of your program such as code.cpp, you say code tab, then enter. This file has been created, a.exe, you say a tab.exe. It's saying full name. As you can see, this is not even looking perfect. I don't know what this is. So for you now to put everything intact, once you said last name, you were supposed to leave out a space. Okay, so you give a space like that, so that will enable you to give a space to your program. So this is more like a space, you are leaving a space in between. Okay, so by the way, we haven't let me just take it back the way it was. So we haven't allowed the user to enter the first and last name. So before we print out this, we need to allow the user to do that. So we'll say cout, then we'll tell user to enter your first name. Okay, enter your first name, we end the line. Then cin, we want to accept the input into the first name. By now we understand the job of the cin. Then again we need to print out a statement which is saying enter your last or surname, depending on whatever you want, your last name. Then we end the line. So once we end the line, we accept the input using cin to the last name. So once that is done, you can say Ctrl+S. Then let's do these simple things which we did here. Clear the screen, G++, then code, then you learn this, which is .a. So it's asking us to enter our first name. So I'll say James. So enter last name, I'll say Soko. Enter. So as you can see, it's written Soko James, but without a space. So for me to create a space, I'll come here, then I'll put that. Then once I give a space like that, more like I want to put a comment, but that comment is a space, I'll allow my program to put a space in between Soko and James. So Ctrl+S to save, clear to clear your screen, up, up, up. So you run that again, you run that. So enter your first name, you say James or any other, then Soko, then it will display full name was Soko James with a space. So in this example, we are learning on characters. What's the use of characters? Okay, so that is the use of characters based on whatever we've learned. Okay, so note a data type store the value of something. Here is supposed to be something, not something. Okay, then e.g. car first name, so we're using 15 characters like we've said. We'll store the first name entered by the user, e.g. enter your first name, end line. So we are storing that the input by the user into this character or variable, which is a character to this car, which has first name, the character. Okay, so now we've understood about this, we proceed to the 9th slide. Okay, so running a C++ program. Okay, I'm sure we've already run some few programs. So Microsoft Visual Studio Code, click on terminal, then select new terminal, type okay whatsoever. Okay, so let me just demonstrate. So I'll clear the screen once more. So imagine we have no idea, but we have an idea. The first thing, once you write a program, you need to click on these dots, or if you see terminal, click on terminal, then say new terminal, and make sure you are under the directory like this, desktop C++ programming, because this is the folder I'm using for this example. It's under desktop. As you can see, desktop C++ programming, that's where my file is. So once you are in the right directory, in case you are not in the right directory, you can simply go to that directory, put your cursor here, then say Ctrl+C to copy. Then once you copy that directory, you need to say cd for change directory. And then these symbols in between, you put that path you wanted to use, then enter, you go to that particular path. So let me say cd dash dash dot dot to go back, cd dot dot to go back. Let me say you were under Soko James, but you needed to be under desktop C++ programming. You can simply say cd these symbols, then the path you have chosen or selected, then enter. As you can see, we are no longer under James Soko but desktop, then in the folder C++ programming. So once that is done, we want to see how we can learn a program. So there are two options on how we can learn a program. So first of all, let me delete this so that we demonstrate. So we are under desktop C++ programming. So I want to delete this file which is executable so that I demonstrate. Okay, so as you can see here, we only have c++.cpp. So if you want to execute this thing we have created, you need to say g++, because we are using mini GW and g++ will help us to create our output. If you just say g++, the name of this code, okay, name of the file such as code.cpp, you say code, use tab on the keyboard, then say code.cpp. As you can see, another file has been created which is a.exe. So executing that, you can start by typing the first letter you are seeing, which is a, then tab on your keyboard, then enter. So this program has been executed. So Ctrl+Z or Ctrl+C to cancel this program. Okay, so let me clear the screen. So if you use G++, the name of this file, your output file will be in code a.exe, which is the default. But if you want to customize your file to another name, this is what we do. We say G++, name of this program, which is code.cpp. We say code, then tab.cpp. Now we say -o for output. So your output, you can give it any name. For example, if you want to say, so we are talking about characters, you are saying characters. So if you say characters, it means that to be your output name. So as you can see, it's now characters.exe. So to run it, you say characters.exe, then your program will be run again. So I will cancel this. Then one more last thing, let me delete that. So if now you want to create the output name with more than one word, you can say G++, the name of this source code file, which is code.cpp -o for output. So if your output file is not just maybe a single word such as characters, but my characters, you can use these two symbols, then in between you say my, then characters. Okay, so as you can see, this contains more than one word. No wonder we are putting these at the beginning and at the end. Once we say enter, it will now say my characters and that executable thing, which is just okay now. So again, the program is able to run. But if we just said G++, the name of the file, then say my characters, so this will refuse because the program will fail to locate characters. So it's saying no file directory, error characters, no file, okay, whatsoever. So that is the meaning. So this is how we learn a program in C++ using Microsoft Visual Studio Code. Okay, now let's demonstrate on how we can do this in in CodeBlocks. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. Then CodeBlocks. Click on build and run. So first of all, let me quickly create a new program because the first one was deleted. So you open up CodeBlocks, then you follow these simple steps. So I'll be fast because I'm running out of battery and we have no power. Okay, so let's just make sure that this video is successfully recorded. Okay, so the first step, we need to create a project, then console, go, then next, C++, yes, next. So we give it a file name. So for example, say C++ programming. We give it a name which is C++ programming. Next, finish. Then double click on sources, double click on main. Let me say this is our source code, the one we've written. So we are trying to see how we can learn a program. So you simply click on build and run. So this is build and run. So once you say build and run, so that program will print out hello world because we are just saying see out hello world. As you can see, hello world. So that's how we can run and execute our program in C++ using Microsoft Visual Studio Code and CodeBlocks. So this is the end of the video. So once this handout is given to you, this video will be attached here. Then this was the introduction to C++ by me, Soko James, Unit 2. Okay, so up next Up next, we are going to talk about arrays and for loops application in social network analysis. So now that will be interesting. That's our next online class of video. Okay, so this is Soko James representing KMU Cyber Security Tutorials. Thanks for watching. Hope you subscribe to my channel, which is Soko James. It's attached under tutors for this channel. So make sure to do that. And thanks for the support.